Hey guys, Beck and Kristen here, and today we're going over some FEI revisions that they're thinking about.
Yeah, so some FEI rule revisions that I think are pretty great on the fitness to compete. So historically, fitness to compete in the FEI's mind was whether or not the horse would pass the jog. So they would just kind of take the horse up and down the jog and, see if they were sound. And now they are branching out into a whole realm of basically mental fitness to compete, as well as changing some of the regulations on icing and medications. They're considering those and putting those on the table. All of this, I think, is amazing. It's going to be interesting to see how they implement it. So along the lines of the mental part, they are now going to be assessing the warm-up and trying to decide if a horse looks within control and if the horse looks happy. Does the horse look stressed? Does the horse look like it is too much horse for the rider? Does it look like the rider can support the horse in a way that would be positive to go into the ring? And so they are trying to come up with parameters to start judging that from the warm-up to help protect the horse. I think this is great. Mm-hmm. I think this is great because we've seen incidences just recently where veterinarians and stewards have tried speaking to riders and telling them that the horse didn't look happy, that the horse looked stressed, that they should discontinue, and they had no grounds to stand on. And this does go back to our license to operate too, which we are also talking about in another video as well. But there's physical welfare and then there's mental welfare. Mm-hmm. And they're not too much different. I mean, what do you think about that, Zach?
No, they're not. And a horse can be very physically fit and physically able to do something, but if the mentality is not there, if there's some reason that they are stressed, anxious, tense for whatever reason, that's going to affect their physical ability to do something. Yeah. And it's going to overall affect, and then you go down the rabbit hole in the spiral of going back and forth, right? And if you have the rider that gets tense when their horse gets tense, they get worried because the horse gets worried, whatever the reason being. And not to say like the upper level riders necessarily do or don't. It's just, we as people, we have our responses, we have our reactions, and everyone is a little bit different, but tension can often be met with tension.
Yeah.
And that can spiral down into more tension, Mm-hmm. There's that meme that goes around sometimes on Facebook where it's like, there's two of us here and only one of us is allowed to have a mental breakdown at a time, and it's always the horse's turn, and we always have to have to stay together. But it is kind of true. And but the thing is, we have to keep ourselves together, and then we have to help our horse find that relaxation and that simpleness. And so if they're mentally not able to do that, and it's not to say, and I hope, with the FEI and the rules revisions with this and everything, that, okay, you have a horse that is extra excited, that's maybe new to what's going on, the different stuff, and a little bit hot or whatever, and it's jumping around doing different things. And I hope that, they'll be able to find a way to determine, okay, is it just the tension and the force tension and it's just constantly battle back and forth? Or is it okay, this horse is just young, green, whatever.
Right. Or is it pain? Mm-hmm. Because pain also causes tension. I mean, I've had horses before where I'm training them here and I'm going, I can't seem to break through this. What is this? And it's pain. Mm-hmm. Physical pain. Right? It's ulcers. It's something that's not detected. It's the saddle doesn't fit. So there's so many things to that emotional component, because remember, horses are prey animals. They're not predator, like somebody tried telling us in one of our other videos. They are prey animals. So they will do everything they can to not show us that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah. They'll do whatever they can to protect themselves and stay alive.
Yeah. So I think that it's absolutely great that they're doing this. Another thing that they're doing is they are looking at medications that are going to be allowed to be given. They are looking at things like joint injections. And then they're also looking at icing horses' legs. I find this super weird that I guess people were doing this. So, well, I guess not weird. Probably shouldn't be surprising. I mean, so we ice horses' legs here, but we always do it after we ride so that we're getting inflammation out of their legs because of just normal concussion and trying to do preventative care for their joints. Because if you don't know, inflammation in the joints over time does degrade the joint integrity, right? It breaks down the joint, causes premature arthritis, that type of stuff. Evidently, people were icing the horse's legs before they ride them and before the trot up, which the FEI is now worried that it would cause a numbing effect, right? Which is not detectable, obviously, in a drug test, to make the horse pass the jog and pass and look sound in the warm-up or in the test. Yeah. Can you think of any sort of medical reason to ice before you ride?
I mean, the only thing that I can really think of, at least at the top of my head right now, of icing, and this more goes into like a full body type thing, and I'm more on like a people side, because I know there are groups of people, that runners or something, that might go into like an ice bath or something beforehand to kind of get that shock valve and get their heart rate up and get moving, and then they can move easier, and it kind of just quickens. It's like that adrenaline of like being able to just jump into the action. Mm-hmm. But when it's just the legs, I don't know how much that would go into that effect.
Yeah.
You know, like can it shock, just kind of shock the system alive in a sense, how long are they icing for?
And isn't it unfortunate that my mind immediately goes to they're doing something devious? Like, isn't that sad?
Yeah. But it would be interesting if somebody, watching this knows anybody who does ice beforehand. Let us know the reasonings behind it.
Yeah, I'd love to learn.
They could be, and it's one of the things, like you said, the FEI is looking into it because
it's happening.
It's happening, but they don't necessarily know why.
Right.
So like, okay.
And they're wondering, is this something that they need to change to protect the horses? And there are some other drugs that they're looking at. One of them is they're also looking at the safety of nerving horses, which is a whole nother issue about nerving and why a owner might choose to do that, or a veterinarian might choose to do that. So I think I'll mention that in a whole nother topic as well. So they've got procedures that they're looking at, joint injections, icing. I think they're trying to make some positive changes, and it's all about horse welfare, and I applaud it. Whether or not it will be implemented consistently is a whole nother issue, but I think it's important to applaud the positive changes and the positive steps, as well as talk about things that we don't like. Be balanced in life.
Yeah, and the other thing to think about too is with all the different changes, rule changes, revisions, different stuff coming into light, all the topics that we talk about, ones that we may not have covered yet, or maybe not get to for whatever reason, the thing to think about is you have to give changes time. You have to understand that changes are usually, more often than not, made for the betterment of the horse in this case, right? Changes could be with something else for a different animal or different sport or whatever else, right? And so we have to understand that a lot of the change and a lot of the rules that we had before were for the help, and then things happened that kind of made them go haywire or go awry with different stuff. But we have to be willing to be patient and be open to see how things work, and it's not always going to be perfect right away. And say probably that never really is it perfect right away. But when things go to one extreme and we make the changes, it's going to fall to the other extreme before
that
it comes down
pendulum
to the
effect.
middle. Yeah. You go to extremes on one side, it's going to fall the other way to the other extreme. And we have to be willing to be patient enough and keep working at it and be willing to work with others to get it to that middle point in that balance.
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts on these FEI new rule changes. And I would love to hear what you guys think about icing beforehand. And if you know any positive effects, because I'm always learning. So thank you so much for joining us.
Okay.